The largest international AIDS conference was held this year in Munich, where experts from all over the world participated. Problems were presented and solutions as well. This conference gathered medical experts, representatives of NGOs, speakers facing problems in the communities, and politicians who are ready to implement solutions. Team from media portal Straight to the Center visited the 25th International Conference with the aim of networking and informing the public about how far medicine has progressed in the field of HIV prevention and treatment. The first question was addressed to the World Health Organization.
So what is the future of healing for HIV? Well, this session we were at today was really about making sure that pregnant and lactating people have options for prevention. And it's exciting to see that the cabotegravir long-acting injectable prevention can be used in pregnant and lactating people. That's part of healing. But the other thing, we've heard such exciting news here at this conference about the potential for other drugs like lenacapavir for prevention. And also we've seen that the more we expand access to antiretrovirals, that we're starting to see reduction of new infections. So it's exciting that we're making some progress and in HIV, and we have to keep our eye on actually ending the epidemic by 2030.
Every person matters, and when the state and the media do not give importance to people struggling with HIV, then individuals take the initiative to make the necessary change.
I think in Brazil, media only talks about HIV maybe in the December 1st, the World Day, or maybe during Carnival, because they are addressing prevention, sexual prevention. They don't talk about HIV day by day, the big media. So probably the work that we need to do there, it's from the activism for the big media to naturalize our existence as a journalist, as someone who lives with HIV for the past 14 years. I've been talking openly about it, that since 2019, when Bolsonaro starting his government, and he was our former president, very far right, and he started telling that he will cut some fundings about medication, about healthcare, including HIV system. You know, in Brazil, HIV medication is free for everyone. So when our former president started talking about cutting funds, criminalize our bodies because he's more from the far wing and he's Protestant. So I decided to openly talk about it and show people that HIV doesn't have a face.
Each country has its internal problems, but most organizations try to educate the youth and network with other organizations to exchange experiences and change laws for a better future.
This participation here is very important because it's important that the voices of the young people is heard by all the society, because the young people have requirements for health, requirements for a wellness being, and we have to be loud our voices for the stakeholders, the decision makers hear us, and the politics and in our countries have to be created in favor of the young people living with HIV.
The German government has a good strategy for people with HIV. They have prevention centers where infected people can exchange experiences.
The government have 10 AIDS counseling centers, and so in every city you can see it on the map. Yes, here Würzburg, Bayreuth, Nürnberg, Regensburg, München, Augsburg, Passau. I'm a psychologist in Bayreuth. Yes, it's a smaller town of 70,000 people. And we have a small AIDS counseling centers, and there can people with HIV come. We have a group where they can sit and drink coffee and talk about their topics. Only people with HIV, no other people. It's important that it's a closed room, so that don't other people come, only them.
At this international conference, one of the most successful organizations for young people, which works closely on prevention and information, presented their goal to educate young people who will make the necessary global changes.
We are Canada's largest youth HIV charity, which is in and of itself one of the biggest achievements that we have. But I will say our biggest achievement is that we're turning 20 this year, and we can really proudly say that we have over 2,000 youth volunteers globally. And we find that that's amazing because having that youth engagement is actually quite difficult to get youth to be engaged and to be part of something like HIV, which is not as, fancy or as attractive. Actually, Shivam in here is 16 years old, and he came all the way from Canada to help us. He's one of our volunteers. He's been with Let's Stop AIDS for 4 years, so he started when he was even younger, which is amazing. I will say, aside of that, we have international programs or national programs, and I think for us it's really amazing that we can have some touch around the world, but also bring that information, awareness, education, and try to create youth leaders in Canada as well and around the world. And we need that. We need youth to be able to speak about this topic because they're our future, and they're the ones that will lead more of this, hopefully, progress, and eventually maybe ending this epidemic is what we hope one day.
When it comes to sexually transmitted diseases, the most important thing is awareness of protection. It often happens that risky behavior costs dearly for those who do not think about their wrong decisions in time.
So you got male and female condoms. That is one. So in a way, it's a individual decision for most, but also I think it's important to know as well, depending on the level of risk, condoms is not the only way to protect oneself. So if you are exposed to repetitive risks, then there is also other alternatives, whether it's PrEP or PEP, for instance, if you've already been exposed to a risk. So there are different levels, but it does require a certain amount of information about what type of prevention is available.
Experts dealing with sexual behavior say that it is necessary for people to come back to themselves, to explore a different way of physical pleasure, because physical contact in a superficial way leads to a high risk of contracting sexual transmitted diseases.
They are so intensively attracted to others, and the social media, the politics, the culture is telling you should be like that, and they are trying to avoid being themselves just to be accepted as that type of person. I'm sexy, I'm normal or something, but what is it? What is normal? Because for you, normal can be one thing, for me it can be another one. So the more we are trying to go to this, the picture which media and politics give us, the less we understand what we are, how we can really have pleasure. And the main thing, when something is changing, it just breaks you. Because, for example, now in Ukraine, I'm from Ukraine, we have really a lot of people with disabilities because of the war, which is natural. But when immediately your body is changed, your mind is changed, or not because of the war, but just because of your age, and you still keep in mind that sexual is like that, you're just stuck. You're in a cage, and it will never make you happy and feel real pleasure, because you will think oh, I'm not like this anymore, instead of, I'm like that now, and this is my superpower, this is my authentic pleasure.
Prejudices about LGBTQ community leads to hatred, discrimination, but also the worst consequences of misunderstanding, violence. In many countries of the world, members of this community are often exposed to various types of violence, which in any case violates all international human rights. Did you experience homophobic violence?
Yes, on so many occasions. I continuously do because I am an openly gay man and I am also an LGBTQ activist and especially on social media, it's just the worst. A lot of homophobia. Cyber violence, but then also the possibility of physical violence is there. I just try as much as possible to stay away from places that I think might incite violence towards me.
Of all the continents, Africa is the most affected by the HIV epidemic, and the causes are mainly the lack of information about prevention and well as the lack of finances, with which residents could change the picture of the infection in the countries that are affected the most. Africa, however, is making significant progress in the fight against HIV.
We've moved a long way ever since this epidemic started, and of course, grossly, it mainly affected the sub-Saharan Africa. That's where the disease burden is most. But because of globalization, we have seen the epidemic affecting everywhere. And with a lot of support, there's been a lot that has been done to reach the UNAIDS target, 95, 95, 95. And we've seen a number of countries approaching those targets. Unfortunately, we are seeing a significant number of new infections, so we are not yet at the helm of ending the epidemic. And there are different factors that are contributing to this, including the stigma and discrimination, the inequities in access to services in terms of especially the minority populations, but also the decline, the progressive decline in the funding for the response. These factors are actually contributing to the appearance of the new cases and hence hampering the efforts that have been already invested in combating this disease. Of course, the global target is to end AIDS or HIV as a public health threat by 2030. And what is happening here is that experts and delegates combining ideas, they are presenting best practices on how the globe can reach the 2030 targets. And the key lessons learned from this meeting will help the countries to scale up. This meeting is also calls for advocacy in enhancing financing for the HIV response and also sustainability of the response beyond 2030.
The female population in Africa faces great challenges, but United Women managed to change the picture of statistics. Official data says that 1 in 4 newly infected women in Africa is between the ages of 14 and 24.
So the Women Networking Zone, what we call the Feminist Epicenter of the Global AIDS Conference, is a collaboration of women's networks, feminist movements from across the world. Athena works primarily in Africa, but we are a global network. We have EWIT, it's a global network. We have European Union of Network of Women Living with HIV, they are based in Eastern Europe. We have Schilfe, they are based in Germany. So we have different collaborations from different across the world, and we have always made sure that there is a representation of, for the sessions, we have all regions represented, the Caribbean, Asia Pacific, Africa, Latin America, and also different feminist movements, sex worker movements, women who use drugs, young feminists. And so we try to make sure that we embody the global face of women and girls in their diversity.
In addition to the problems that both young and middle-aged African women have, members of the LGBTQ community also have major problems due to their sexual orientation and not acceptance by society.
Whatever is happening in Ghana now, especially how the LGBTQ community is treated in Ghana, and how that treatment also affects HIV is a very necessary and important issue to raise. And it's also like one of the issues or the reasons why I am here today, and I've been engaging in quite a number of sessions to like draw the Ghanaian experience of how it is like right now in Ghana to be either a gay person, an MSM, or even an LGBTQ person, and then also how this is also affecting access to HIV medication, access to even human rights in general, how all of this is affected.
One of the global causes of health problems in many countries of the world is poverty. Professional staff for prevention and many other elements that would help that spread of the HIV epidemic are unavailable to them.
Well, I mean, there's no question that poverty is a negative enabler of public health challenges. And so I think that there has to be a certain commitment to what resources are dedicated to health, recognizing, of course, that are also resources that need to be developed, dedicated to food security, to employment, to other important. I'm not an expert on poverty. I'm only an expert on health, but I recognize there needs to be a resource investment in health that's proportional to the need, just like there needs to be a resource investment in other other activities that also are supporting the generation of people's lives, improvement of people's lives, despite the poverty that they are.
African organizations are taking problem solving to the next level. Networking and sharing experiences is the key to their success. Connected with all other organizations of the world, they bring great changes to their members.
So we have approximately over 10 sessions every day, and the sessions range from young feminists, young LGBTQ women, young women who use drugs, networks of women living with HIV, collective global feminist movement, which shows you the importance of continued focus on gender equality, because from the beginning of the epidemic, we know that women have responded by using community systems to coordinate each other, to develop support groups, to make sure that they are supporting each other. And even when there is difficult access to medicine, or they need to decide between taking medicine and nutrition, they have found a way of coordinating together. But most importantly, they are the ones who brought to light the disproportionate effect of HIV on women and girls. So it's important for us to keep that on the agenda much higher than before.
USAID Matrix program is a project to advance research and development of innovative HIV prevention products for women, according to the reactions of the audience, as well as what the representatives of the program said. A lot of hope is invested in the future of Matrix.
Alright, so Matrix is a program that's really meant to empower our Global South partners to do manufacturing of new products. But the most important thing is to actually develop new products that meet the needs of women for contraception, HIV prevention, and prevention of STIs. Because now women don't have all the products they need to solve their problems for family planning and prevention of STIs.
Thank you very much, Sasha. So with Matrix, I think the future is remarkable. Matrix aims to bring to African women like me products that are affordable, acceptable, accessible, and scalable, so that we can access the products and we will love them, because Matrix is working with the end user, asking the end user, what type of product do you want? How do you want it? Do you want it to be on demand? Do you want it to be long acting? So I think Matrix is poised for success, and I think it is going to change the trajectory of HIV in African women like myself. So yeah, I'm really excited about what Matrix is bringing to us African women.
The fight against HIV is difficult, and precisely because of the greatest presence of the HIV epidemic in Africa, residents in many countries have invaluable experience. They resort to the tactic that everyone's word matters and that it is experience that can change the picture of the epidemic and educate younger population.
One of the major things to change is one, to resource the movement, to make sure they have the resources to engage effectively and meaningfully. Beyond organizing meetings and being on the panel as tokenistic, they need to be in the rooms where people are making decisions, because they are the ones who are most affected, but also they are the ones who hold the solutions to the future of how we do global health. And so it is important for us to rethink who we think of an expert. And I always say, a woman living with HIV, a young woman from a poor community is an expert on their issue, not just the doctor, not just the researcher. So it's important for us to give equal prominence to both sides of the expertise.
There is always a solution to the problem, so the Canadian team found a way to make the infection prevention program sustainable in the one African country that records the most young people who get infected.
So one of the corporations we did, for example, in Guyana, there is the health government health program there contacted us because they have a lot of youth living with HIV, and they created this camp in the summer, and they wanted us to help them bring our information. So what we did is we trained 10 facilitators to be able to host a workshop themselves in Guyana at this camp. Through our training, they were able to present this program, and then they were able to give us some great feedback with regards to how much they enjoyed it, how much they learned, things that they didn't know, now they know. And it was even youth that are living with HIV that didn't know some of this information because of the stigma, because of how much the lack of awareness there is, or their fear of going to a doctor or going to somebody in their community and then everybody finding out, because the fear and the stigma is very big. It unfortunately deters a lot of young people from seeking the help that they need. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to spread those projects, those workshops, that awareness, and create a community. Actually, in the Youth Pavilion, we have a Live Life Loving program that we're also trying to showcase. Can
you show me?
Absolutely. So if you go into the Youth Pavilion over here, right over here, you see Live Life Loving. Please go into that space. You're going to see some people with white shirts. They'll be able to explain the program even more to you about how we're trying to create with these stories to bring together and have a community through these very impactful stories to show people that they're not alone.
Germany is very active in terms of prevention, providing assistance and information. The government makes maximum effort to enable the infected to receive special training in AIDS centers.
Yes, also we do also school prevention. I go to school and teach the pupils about risks and how to protect. And then they see us at the AIDS counseling center. I say, we are here, you can come if you have any questions in the future. If you have sex and you want to have questions, or you have concerns about HIV infection, come and we do a rapid test. I think that we represent us in the media or in the public. It's important.
Latin America also has an excellent strategy for educating young people. They're advocating for a change in the laws in the countries where they carry out prevention actions against the HIV epidemic.
We have a lot of achievement here. We try to do the better action of political advocacy in our countries. We are 21 countries representative in Latin America of Hispanic speakers. Okay, we try to give force to the voice of the young people in all Latin America. And we try that every day we have the labor of increase the knowledge of HIV material to the young people living with HIV.
Risky sexual behavior leads to a greater possibility that people will become infected, so it is necessary to conduct frequent testing. Many countries of the world organize often free tests throughout the year.
Well, it all depends on their risk behavior. So it depends on the level of risk that they're exposed to.
And
so there's no, I mean, usually if there are risk, repetitive risk, then approximately around every 3 months.
The main problem in the spread of the epidemic is the frequent change of partners, but also the perception of the sexual act as a superficial personal pleasure. According to experts in sexual behavior, people who undergo training for a deeper connection with their sexuality and their own body reach the moment when they completely change their attitudes, decisions, and way of life. It is also the best solution for people to stay healthy.
People tell us for the first that they never were thinking that sex is like that. Yeah, that is such a huge and deep and multi-level thing. They mostly tell us like it's life-changing, because when you're asking like who I am or what is pleasure for me or how my body works, not just the body, my body works and feels and can feel, it changed everything, because you cannot say in sex I feel like that, but in life I feel like this. No, that's all connected, because sex is, for me at least, sex is a small, super concentrated model of your own life. Every decision, every feeling, every communication which you have, it shows how you live it in other stuff, in your work, in your relationships, in your, I don't know, friendship or so.
One of the interesting solutions presented at the International AIDS Conference is gene therapy. One of the speakers on this panel shared his experience of being cured of HIV, and global health officials have high hopes for this treatment.
The highlight is the hope that we can provide people that it can be made cheaper. It can be provided in a less complex setting. We can make it both, we can bend those cost curves to healthcare workers, health systems, and most importantly, children and their families. We can access that care. We need to scale it up. The most important part, though, the most important is time. So what is the pace of scale up? When can we get to time to population? And the only thing standing in our way is lack of political will and action. And we can get over those hurdles if we demand enough at the right time. So we will be speedy, and we demand speed in reaction.
I think I think that gene therapy is in its beginnings. So I think that the people who are receiving gene therapy in general, I would like to think that the benefit to them is still outweighing the risks. The risks have to be identified, but whatever their health situation is, the benefit outweighs the risks. For Adam, who you saw up there, who was cured with HIV, he had a disease where the benefit of him undergoing a bone marrow transplant outweighed the risk, and then he had the other issue related to the HIV. So I think that gene therapy is risky, and so it should be only applied in scenarios right now, at least, where the benefit outweighs the risk. Will we come to a point in our evolution of science where people can actually choose gene therapy, but also choose other, because it's so safe, but also choose other options? But we're not there right now.
Some solutions need more time, but they're being worked on a lot.
So we don't know exactly how long it will take to get these products to the market, at least 5 years. I wish it could be faster, but we're doing everything and working with regulators and with funders to try to expedite these new products that are going to be important for women globally.
In the most cases, discrimination against the infected leaves people on the sidelines.
First, they are alone and they want to get to know other people, yes, because they are isolated and they have no people to talk about their topics of HIV or discrimination, or their fears maybe to new partner, maybe. Or they are afraid about that people will reject them. They said go away, or they have fears.
In the end, everything stems from a personal connection with yourself, from a moral or immoral decisions, and love, which is the engine of the world, both in the social life with your partner, but also with yourself.
And for me, sexual intelligence means that you understand authentic yourself, who you are, how you feel, what you can do, what makes you feel better and what doesn't. Because if naturally you need that level of closeness, but now you have just one night stand, it probably will make you empty.
Time remains to show how the world will globally solve the problem of the HIV epidemic. Munich showed, with over 15,000 participants, that there is a will, expertise, and a bright view of the future to make the world a better place to live. For the portal, straight to the center, reporting from Munich, Saša Dobrijević.